Hello and welcome to this exclusive National Hog Farmer at the Slat Level. I'm Ann Hess. Late last week, we learned that Senator Roger Marshall had withdrawn his support for a piece of legislation that would have eliminated Prop 12 in the 2026 Farm Bill. Now, a $30 million national campaign is calling attention to Prop 12 in the Farm Bill again. Joining us to discuss this current situation is Rob Brenneman, president of the National Pork Producers Council. Welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Before we jump into today's discussion, I'd like to remind the audience tuning in you can post any questions you may have for Rob in the chat, or if you're tuning in via social media, you can post those there in the comments, and we'll be sure to get those over to Rob. So, Rob, for those who might not be familiar with this legislation being included in the Farm Bill that would address issues such as California's Proposition 12, as well as this ad campaign running, can you give us a little background on both?
Well, I think that addressing it in the Farm Bill is what we're trying to get done. And Prop 12, it's another state regulating all the states. The pork that goes into California is has to have 24 square foot and open pen gestation in some fashion, and allows them to turn around and walk around and do their thing. And so by doing that, they're telling you in Iowa or Michigan or Minnesota, wherever you're at, that now you need to comply with that to sell product into the state of California, and it's regulating it. Goes strictly against Commerce Clause acts and all that stuff.
So, for pork producers in Iowa, even across the US, what do you think they're not hearing clearly right now about Proposition 12 and its impact on farms?
Well, I think that they don't, the consumer and the American public doesn't know exactly what's going on, because right now we're having, like you started out with, there were ads against Senator Marshall supporting us. And in turn, it was coming from the animal rights activists. And that's what their goal is. Like you said, they're spending $30 million. And their goal is not just about square footage, not just about animal welfare. Their goal is that animals do not get eaten by humans, and that is absolutely wrong in our case. So that's where they're spending their money.
And you've raised concerns, obviously, about these activist groups shaping the Prop 12 conversations in Iowa recently. You've been on Capitol Hill addressing these issues. What specifically worries you about the message being presented to farmers, consumers, and legislators?
Well, I think the message being sent, which is clearly what happened in Senator Marshall's case, they're putting a lot of pressure on the Congress people and senators, and they're talking about catering towards the Chinese propaganda, but it's not the Chinese that are the problem. It's what this affects is every friend of mine that has pigs and is trying to figure out what direction to go and pass it on to the next generation. And they're trying to put constraints around that and ultimately eliminate producers raising pigs. And so I think the misconception is that they are really for animal welfare. They're not really, and the Chinese are in the middle of it, and they're not. And animal welfare is not the subject here in my mind. It's elimination of pork production is what's in their mind.
And you mentioned, I mean, it's an animal welfare issue, it's a foreign interest concern, but from your perspective as a pork producer, why do you see it differently?
Because I'm in the mix of things every single day, and all the friends that I have that raise pigs, and all the people that we represent in on the Pork Council, and as everything else we do in life, it's about the independent pork producers that are out here doing the job daily. And it's going to affect us because there's already been a lot of people that converted over to open pen gestation. And as you'll see in some of the stuff on the videos here, that what open pen gestation looks like. And we don't have a problem with that. And the majority of the friends I know and are making conversions are going that direction. And this is not about crates. We just don't know what direction to go. And we cannot afford 50 different ways to raise pigs. But if somebody asks for it and they want it, we will definitely try and accommodate it. We're not here to defend crates. This is not the subject. We're not here to defend China. That's not the subject. We're here to defend independent pork producers that raise families in rural areas and feed the corn and all the stuff locally, apply the manure locally. We're here to keep them in business and keep them independent and keep our neighbors happy.
Yes, you mentioned keep them in business. I mean, what kind of uncertainty has Prop 12 created for those pork producers who are trying to make long-term decisions about barns, markets, swine management?
Yeah. And so, yeah, so what we're asking is a fix to Prop 12. The fix to Prop 12 so we don't have 50 more ways to raise pigs and we have a direction. So as you remodel buildings, and a lot of the buildings are getting, our sow farms are getting a little bit older, and they're wanting to know what's right way and what's the wrong way to raise pigs. And the goalpost keeps moving. As you've seen some stuff coming up today, Oklahoma wants 30 some square foot per sow. Well, the Packers can't make those switches fast enough in their line. And we can't afford to keep making changes, such as the producers in Ohio that already adapted to OPG. And now they want them to go to another 4 square foot. And so you got to remodel again. We want consistency in what we do. And right now, there's no science behind Prop 12. And there's no, I mean, nothing has been put in stone on it. That is the exact right way to raise pigs. But the welfare that's being touted, this is not a welfare issue. This is people that do not want us to exist. That's why they're spending $30 million on this campaign. And as we watch that as producers, we want to do the right thing every day. And the true welfare is in the hands of the caregiver. And that's people like me and the people around this community and other smaller farmers. We just can't afford 50 ways to raise pigs, period.
We started this discussion talking about Senator Marshall withdrawing his support for that piece of legislation in the Farm Bill that would take out Prop 12. Why do you believe, the backers we have, the Representative Hinson and Senators Ernst and Grassley, that, want to see a solution to getting rid of Prop 12? Why are they important to this? Why do you think they believe in real farmers?
Well, I've had conversations with all of them, and I hate it that Senator Marshall made the decision to not stay involved. Like we said, this is about a Prop 12 fix, and Ashley Henson has done a tremendous job on Save the Bacon Act and keeping that in and going through and getting it in the Farm Bill on the House side. And we were out there the whole time, and we had conversations with her and other legislators, and that went really well. And we kept saying, this is not welfare. This is about the way to raise pigs right and welfare friendly. And once again, that's in our hands. And Senator Grassley and Senator Ernst have been very, very promotive of making this Prop 12 fix happen. And that we really, really appreciate that. We just, like I say 100 times, we just can't afford 50 different ways to raise pigs.
As we wrap up our discussion here, any key takeaways, final thoughts you'd like to leave our audience with today?
Well, I think my key thoughts would be tell your story as a producer and keep telling, go to DC and talk about it so they know what you do. My time out there has been awesome. There are people that truly don't know what you do and they think this is all about China. But if you tell this story that you show that you're a producer, this is what you do, and you know what you do, and you want your family involved. And in order to have our families involved, which I have, you need to have direction, and we got to set the direction. And we can't have, if a consumer asks for something, we've always delivered as farmers. I don't care what they want. If that's what they want, we will ask. If it's truly what Prop 12 is, what California wanted, the consumption of pork wouldn't have went down. The price wouldn't have went up 15 to 20%. In times of food affordability and food inflation, the last thing we need to do is raise the price of pork that's a high quality, very well balanced protein for the human to eat. And we raise that price up, then all of a sudden it's not affordable. And then it opens the door for other things that I don't believe should be happening. Let's keep the hands of food production in farmers, in real pig farmers. That just tell your story, do what you do, and be the best at it every day, and show up and talk about it.
Very good. Rob Brenneman, President of the National Pork Producers Council, thank you so much for sharing your insight with us on this hot button issue.
Yeah, thank you for your time. And once again, thanks to Ashley Henson and Senator Grassley and Ernst. I can't help but thank them enough. And all the producers that show up in DC to tell their story. Thank you.
Absolutely. For more pork policy and production conversations, be sure to check out the At the Slat Level page on the National Hog Farmer website. For National Hog Farmer, I'm Ann Hess.